I do a lot of interviews, and recently people have been asking me, well, Paul, how did you find the martial arts? Why did you join the boozing con?
That cruise was boozing, my man.
What the hell? Where'd you come from?
I've been here for a while, hanging out, hoping to be noticed.
Well, people have been asking me, Michael, where and how did you find the the martial arts in general, and how did you get involved in Bujinkan? And I guess today's the day we find out.
Let's rock and roll, man.
Let's start from the top, or maybe from the beginning. That's better, right?
That does sound like a better spot.
All right. So, I was always interested in the martial arts since the day I can remember. I mean, since I had memory. I have 3 older sisters, and apparently I was really, really protective, almost overprotective of my sisters. And they love to tell me this story that when I was 3 years old, and there was a guy picking on my sister, right? So I was 3, my sister was probably 5. So this guy picking on her was like 8 or 9, right? And I saw this from inside the house, apparently, and I ran out. I was in my diapers, and not these nice, pampered diapers, like we have today. I was in those cloth diapers where stuff was probably flying out of it, just dirty, right?
Just the way it was meant to be.
That's right. So I ran out there, man. I jumped on this guy, I pushed him down. He's like 8 or 9 years old, right? I'm 3 years old. And I guess I started grounding and pounding on him, just on his back, pounding on him, and he's crying and ran home and stuff. And I guess they had to apologize for me. I was 3 years old, I didn't know what to say, right? I was like, you deserved it.
I mean, sometimes you earn that, right? If he'd left your sisters alone, he would have been okay.
I said, you shouldn't be picking on my sisters, right?
He wouldn't have cloth diaper stuff on.
So I guess that's where, I've always wanted to do martial arts. And I just can only remember just wanting to do martial arts. But my mom wouldn't let me.
Yeah, mine was the same way. She said I'd break too many things.
Right, and you'll get injured. I don't want you to do it, right? So one day, I guess I was arguing with my mom and telling her I want to do it. I was probably 5 or 6. I remember this like it was yesterday, And she said, okay. There was an Aikido guy in town. She said, let's go see it, right? So I said, oh, fine, let's go. And so we go to see this Aikido man, and it was amazing. I mean, he was like, this. I think he was even Asian, like a smaller Asian guy, and he was just throwing people around, like just, throwing them in the air. Like Aikido when they throw people in the air and they're like, wow,
It's dynamic. It looks gorgeous.
It looks amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the shit. This is what I want, right? And so she's like, okay, let me talk to the teacher. So she talks to this guy, and he says it's okay. So in 2 weeks you can start, man. I was thrilled.
You got the golden ticket, man.
I did. I felt like Willy Wonka, or the Oompa Loompa or something, right? I was psyched, right? 2 weeks I could barely sleep, right? And so the day comes, it's like a Saturday. We're supposed to go. And we get in the car, and we're driving along. And I happen to look in the back seat. And I think we were riding a Gremlin. People don't know that car, but anyways.
I know that car.
You know that car?
It's from Men in Black. It's a classic car.
Really?
Yeah.
It used to blow up when you hit the back of it, right? It was horrible. But anyways. So I look in the back of the Gremlin. It's a green Gremlin too, anyways. And there's a guitar back there. And no one in my house plays the guitar, right? And I'm like, what the hell is this, And I'm like, hey, Mom, there's a guitar back there. And she's like, oh, yeah. We're going to your guitar lesson today.
That's not Aikido.
No.
It's spelled differently.
It is.
Heck, it's done differently.
It is. I was like, what? I thought we were going to Aikido. And she's like, no, I figure you should learn guitar first.
I mean, serenade your enemies. I guess.
Serenade your enemies.
It's a move.
I guess so. Man, I was devastated, and that was crushing. I remember it to this day. That's like a core memory, from, and so from that time on, she just wouldn't let me do martial arts. She was just too worried about me hurting something, breaking myself or something. So I the whole time I just watched martial art movies and practice what they were doing on TV, right? The old Shaolin movies.
Same, man. Yeah, I remember doing that.
I got pretty good. I could kick pretty well, So the moment I left my home, I went to college right when I was like 17. I think I got in there when I was 17, and I joined the karate club at University of South Florida.
Heck yeah!
It was, and this guy, the guy who was teaching there was this burly, huge, like barrel-chested Englishman. He was a merchant marine, right? I don't know what else he did in his life. I just knew he was an ex-merchant marine, right? Like just loved to drink and fight, and just massive, right? And here I am, 17, going in there to this karate class, and he used to beat the living shit out of us. I mean,
I'm gonna guess you got John Kreese and not Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it really wasn't like Cobra Kai, but god damn did he beat the hell out of us. I mean, when I think back of it now, when you're 17 and you don't know any better, you're just like, oh yeah, this is great. You know, I mean, I'm getting tough.
Yeah, I just have bruises and can't sit down or sneeze. It's totally fine.
and contusions and concussions and stuff. You know, I mean, it was nuts. I think about it now. I'm like, God dang, that was dangerous, man. I mean, and there was only 3 of us in his. I mean, the whole university. There was just 3 of us that stuck in his class, right? And I mean, well, it did teach me how to take hits because this guy was so nuts, man. He would even bring in like these amateur his friends that were doing like kickboxers, like, you know, going semi-pro. Remember there was one called, I don't know, it was called like Ray the Stingray, because he had this, you know, super fast spinning back kick, and he's like, yeah, Paul, you're gonna spar with this guy today, right? And so I'm like, sure, you know, whatever. I'm like 18. This guy's probably like 28 and just like jacked and you know, semi-pro.
Skilled, and you're like, yeah, I got this. This is totally fine. This is gonna be safe.
This is why not? I mean,
this is nothing like what Mom worried about.
You know, and I'm like, okay, Stingray, let's go. You know, motherfucker, that guy, his spinning back kicks, Stingray. I mean, it's Ray or Stingray or something like that, or Scorpion. It might have been Scorpion. I don't know. It was so fast, you couldn't see it coming. He hit that thing on me the first time. I probably went flying like 15 feet and couldn't get up for like 5 minutes. Like,
yeah, you don't forget your first kick like that. That's a
I still remember it.
That's a core memory.
I still remember, man. That kick sent me in another dimension, man. I was out. I was like, okay, no, I'm done. I mean, I was like, will I ever be able to breathe normally again? I mean, it was bad, man. So yeah, that was the beginning of martial arts. I mean, I stayed there for like 4 or 5 years. I stuck it out. But here's the interesting thing. You know, I was doing this martial art, and you were right. It was like Karate Kid back then. Like every month, he would make me go to these tournaments, right? Where they'd give away those like 6-foot trophies and stuff. And so I would spar and do form there, and I was the best. I mean, I was like Karate Kid. I was like Johnny, man. I would stack in those silly trophies, man.
You were all in this time without a diaper.
I was all in, man, and I was great, man. Points, I'd win everything, man. I'd come home every month, you know, with first and second, you know, in one or the other, right? And 2, most of the times 2, you know, 1 in form, one in sparring, right? But I kept thinking, man, this ain't gonna work in the real life, you know. If I'm walking around the street, I'm thinking, if something pops off right now, I'm dead. My ass is grass, right? And so, I mean, I would have these dreams, right? This is a really interesting thing. Like, I would have these dreams, and I'd be sleeping, and someone would show up in front of me, some bad guy, right? And he'd threaten me, and I'd be like, okay, I gotta take him out, and I would start kicking and punching this guy like perfect karate strikes, right? And it's like bounce off him. It like wouldn't affect him at all, right? I mean, I'd be doing my dreams so much that I'm dead tired, and the guy's like, okay, it just like kills me. And like right when he kills me, I'm like wake up, and I'm like, oh God, you know.
That's like the worst way to wake up.
right? You know, and it was bizarre because I started having these reoccurring like all the time, probably from my 4th year in. And I'm like, this is not good. And I kept having that feeling that, you know, in reality, in real life, going down the street, if something happens, kicking and punching, this is not going to save my life, right?
Something inside told you like, maybe this isn't the place to be.
Yeah. And I think the dreams were like, you know, what, you know, Nakatake-san was writing in her book, and what we spoke about on our last interview about that subconsciousness, that senzai ishiki, as we say. If you haven't seen our talks on her books called Kuden, Nimpoden, you can still see them. They're on demand. So I think this was my, you know, underlying intelligence, subconscious, whatever you want to call it, senzai ishiki, that was telling me, you gotta find something. So eventually I went to my teacher, right, and I said, look, you know, what can I do? You know, I'm still feeling a little bit unsure. You know, how, you know, and I remember seeing like these locks, like this is when Steven Seagal just came out, and he was doing like Above the Law, and I thought that was amazing, right? And I'd never seen like these locks before, and I'm like, So I asked my karate teacher, I said, Dave Hunt, the big merchant marine, I said, hey, what about these locks? I've seen these locks. They look amazing and stuff. He's like, we don't do no locks here.
But why?
Well, that was my question. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, well, what should I do? And guess what his answer is?
What was that?
He's like, you got to learn how to kick and punch harder.
Any lock worth picking's worth kicking, I guess.
I mean, I don't know, but that was his answer. Well, you just got to keep training. You got to punch harder and kick harder. I'm like, look, man, my joints only have a certain amount of, flexibility or density to them, right? I mean, there's no way I can like kick and punch like harder than I already do. I'm like 19. That's like the strongest you're going to be, on the, in your life, like the most agile you're going to be, right? So I was like, okay, this is not going to work for me. I thought. So at that point, I got lucky enough to go to, where was I going to? Paris. I got a year scholarship to go to this University of Dauphine in Paris to study business, part of an MBA program, really.
Oh, wow.
I just basically just drank coffee and rock climbed and watched all the pretty girls in the cafes. I didn't really do much studying, but it was a good time.
I mean, that's what a good study abroad program's for, right?
I think so. So I was there and I was like, man, I got to train because I can't stop training, right? And so I found this guy who was doing jujitsu. I started his class and it was good. It was good. I just wasn't satisfied though. And then I saw this guy walk in one day, looked really fresh and kind of, I don't know, there's something about him, right? And so I asked the jiu-jitsu teacher, I said, who's that? He's like, well, he's down in the basement. He teaches a Aikido class in the basement. And I was like, really? I said, okay, maybe I can try. And he's like, sure. I go down there and this guy is awesome. He's really, really good. I mean, and he's doing all the locks that I wanted to do. And all the ukemi, he showed me all the ukemi and stuff. And I was in seventh heaven. And within a month, he's like, you should go see my teacher, Christian Tissier, who had apparently studied in Japan for like 7 years and was teaching at Wasnt, the dojo in Wasnt, which I didn't know was Arnaud's dojo at that time.
Wait, Arnaud in France?
Arnaud. I should interview Arnaud here.
That'd be cool.
But anyways, so I was going to Christian Tissier's dojo, Aikido dojo at Vincennes in Paris. And I guess on another night, Arnaud was teaching Bujinkan there. I had no idea.
It's a small world, man. It's so funny. The longer time goes on, the more we just connect.
6 degrees of separation, they say, right? And then you can find the connection to some other person, right?
Well, that's how you found Sensei, yeah.
A little bit. I'll get there. I'll get there.
Oh, it's all right. Slowly.
So anyways, I'm training with this guy, Christian Tissier in Paris. I think it's a cat's meow. I think it's amazing, right? And I'm learning it all. And he's tough, right? Because he learned in Japan. So he's like, just, doing all the Steven Seagal stuff that I wanted to do, wham, and your feet are going up in the air and you're smacking the mats. And it was amazing. And he was good. And, the locks hurt. They were effective. And I thought, this is great. And then the year ended and I had to go back to America. I'm like, I'm not going back to karate. I mean, I'm done. I'm done with that. I'm done. I'm not going back to Dave, right? Mr. Hunt. But I thought, okay, I'll find an Aikido club. And there was one on the university, right?
Oh, okay.
So I went there and the level of Aikido there was like, I mean, it was going from like, I don't know, a 10 to like a 2. It was like all these hippies smelling like patchouli and friendship. I mean, I like patchouli and friendship bracelets and all that stuff, but I mean, it just, the vibe was not there. It was like,
it was like these things are similar, but not the same.
I mean, like some of the forms looked similar, but it just that Christian Tissier had like a really like combative style, and it was like I knew this would work. And then I went to America, and and these guys are like, oh, it's all about peace and love, and here, let me show you. And I'm just like, I mean, I could slap this guy in the next Tuesday, and he couldn't do anything about it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like peace and love, but like sometimes you got to break a bone or two.
But you got to be capable, right? And these guys just weren't capable. And I was like, oh man, And then I'd done it, and then I tried everything else. I was doing like Tai Chi, and I was holding the energy ball and doing this stuff, and then I did Kung Fu, and I sparred with some Kung Fu guys, just about killed them all. And I'm like, so Dave Hunt, my
I was just gonna say
teacher.
It sounds like a couple of things sank in.
I mean, it was all right. It was pretty good. And so I'm like, man, and I was searching. I tried all these dojos. I went around. I went to like like there was a Tiger Claw dojo near my house, a real famous one. And I mean, I did everything, and it was like, oh man, this is. I guess I just thought that martial arts was real, but I guess it's not real.
It depends on where you go, right?
well, yeah, and I know that now.
Yeah.
But I mean, at that point, I was like, it's just a child's dream, right? And I got into at this time I came back from Paris, and I was finishing up my MBA, and I just started working for a big company, right? Huge company. I'm in this elite company, and I'm working for it. And I'm like, my dreams of the martial arts were crushed. And then like my dreams of life were being crushed. I mean, I'm in this elite corporation, right? And I'm working like 7 days a week. 7 days a week. I'm an auditor, right? And we're going around to different businesses and auditing their books and stuff. And, you have like, I thought I'd have the weekend off at least, right? And I'd be in there like on a Friday, and all of a sudden the chief of the team would be like, "Oh, Paul, I'll have to see you here tomorrow at 7. We're behind." And I'm like, what?
You're like, that's what Monday is for.
That's what Monday is for.
That's what Monday is for.
Right? So I'm like, man, this is soul crushing. This work, this I can't do this, right? I did it for a year, right? It was soul crushing. And I'm like, I remember sitting there, and they give you one of those like little things where you key in all the numbers and you're adding up numbers. And I'm like, no. in abacus. No, it's it's a little, I don't know, adding machine. We don't even.
Oh yeah, with the tape, the paper that came out. Yeah.
So you get your own personalized adding machine, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like 20, I don't know, 4 or 5 with an adding machine, and I'm like, what the hell? Why was I born? I'd sit in the office and I'd be like, why was I fucking born? This is not living life, right? No, this just put me in a jail cell, because this is what I'm doing, right? I'm here from 7 to 7, 8 at night. And then even Saturday and Sunday, they'd be, oh no, we gotta crush this audit by Sunday or Monday. And so like every weekend I was almost working. Dude. And then you gotta go to like company events like at night and stuff. So, I mean, you had no time outside of this, whatever this life was, you had no time to do anything wrong. Me and my adding machine, man, it was a love-hate relationship. I hated him. I hated it, but I had to use him, right? And I had to use him. I was pounding on him every day, hoping he'd break. But and at that time, when I was starting doing this job, someone, I don't even know who it was, man. They're like, "Hey, man, I know this guy who knows this guy who knows a guy who trained with this guy in Japan." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And he's like, "But you'd probably love it. It's like really, it's really great." And I'm like, "Yeah, look, man, I'm done with little boy dreams, man. Because my dreams have been crushed. I tried everything, right?" And so he's like, "All right, And a couple months later, he's like, "Hey, man, I think you ought to try this, man. It looks really good." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, just leave me alone in my dungeon of despair here." And it was all a lie, man. I know that now. Just leave me alone. It's, I'm not going anymore. I'll just get, more upset and depressed because it'll just be another phony, and I don't want to do it." And he's like, all right. He goes away. And I don't know, it was probably another month or two. And God, who was it? I don't know who it was. And they're like, "No, man, you might want to try it." He comes back to me again, he says, "You might want to try this out. It's great. I think it's great, And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. All right, I'll try it. Right.
Just like, let me down one more time. Fine.
I know. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, man.
Just leave me alone.
Just stop. If I go once, he'll leave me alone, right?
Exactly,
and I'm like, okay, I'll just go already. Hey, if you're enjoying the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel and helps other people find the channel as well. And if you like this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That's also really helpful. And leave a comment below on your martial journey, or maybe you haven't even started martial arts yet. Let us know what you're doing, or did you do what I did back in the 80s, just crazy Karate Kid type stuff. I'd love to hear from you all. Also, recently in the Bujinkan, we lost one of our longtime practitioners and beloved friend, Norman Smithers. So I wanted to say, Norman, I know you're looking down and guarding over us, and you're a hell of a guy. Now, Norman, he loved to prank me. He got me so many times. He used to send me these memes, right, in the train, like these little videos. I'd be in the train on my way back from my dojo in Tokyo, crowded trains, and the meme, you couldn't hear it. The lips would be moving, but you couldn't hear it, so you turn the volume up, and all of a sudden it would switch this horrendous porno scene. The woman has got my hand screaming, ah. I'm like, oh God. damn it, trying to turn it down, and all the Japanese are like, damn foreigner watching porn in the train. You got me like 3 times on that, Norman. You did. You got me good, brother. But I love you, Norman. And I know he loved me because he made me part of his covert underwater ninja team, CUNT. So Norman, thanks for that. We will definitely miss you, and I know I'll see you again. I hope not too soon, but we'll see you again, Norman. And my condolences to his family and friends. He was a great, beloved friend and teacher. So let's get back to the video. So I go to this guy, and his name is Mark Russo. He's still doing martial arts. He's like one of
in
the
Santa Cruz, Mark?
No. Mark Russo is in Florida. He's probably like he's one of the top guys. I think still under Stephen Hayes, who recently retired. And I go to his class, and I'm watching. I go just to I'm not going to participate because I'm pretty good, right? And I'm thinking it's going to be another phony, right? So I'm sitting there watching. And Mark's a talented martial artist. He really is. And he's strong, capable. I mean, he's probably in his 30s at that time. I was in my mid-20s. He's probably in his mid-30s. Jacked. He's really into lifting weights and stuff. So I'm watching him. And he's a physical specimen, to be sure, but I don't care about that, But I'm looking at his movement. And I'm like, well, yeah, he's just punching him there. Yeah, that's cool. Whatever, Oh, he threw a kick there. Yeah, I remember that. Remember that kick, And then he starts just bringing out different weapons. And he's like, yeah, so you can hide a shuriken here. And I'm like, what was that? And then he's like, and then you could have this towel thing. You could take a towel and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And he's like, he wraps the guy in a towel and does like a Multiaku, well, as we call it Multiaku, but I hadn't learned it as kotegaishi, I think, in Aikido. And I'm like, oh, he's doing kotegaishi. Yeah, I know that. But with a towel, I was like, what the hell is even that? I'm like, bro, what? And then he's like, and then you could snap him in the face with a towel and then kick him. And I'm like, what? Now this makes sense. This makes sense with this kind of stuff. And then he's like, if you don't have that, you can take off your belt and you can smack him with the buckle. I'm like, yes, that's this man is making sense. You know what I mean?
This is the violence I've been looking for.
The violence, the pure, and you can stick them, and he's got the buckle with the, the old fashioned buckles with the little stem that, goes in the hole. So you put that between your fingers, jab him in the eye. And I'm like, hell yeah, you could. I was like, yes.
No rules in this house.
And then he's like, and then you could, if someone comes with a knife, you could avoid it like this, and you could break his wrist, take the knife and jab it in his neck. And I'm like, indeed, my man. So I'm starting to feel the fire, right? And I get up. He's like, you want to join? I'm like, yeah, I think I will, kind sir.
Maybe since I'm here,
since I made the trip,
I've got the time.
I mean, to be honest, I wasn't sold right away, but I mean, it was starting I was feeling that fire from as a child, right? I'm like, whoa, what is this, man? Let me get in on it, and I took the first class. I was like, yeah, I like it, I like it, but I'm going to be sure. I'm not going to just jump headfirst in some love affair with some dude I don't know. Does that sound weird?
Love is love, bro. Ain't no judgment here.
Anyways, he was still, I went back and it was interesting again, and it was interesting again, man. And I swear I caught the fever, man. I mean, it was like, I couldn't miss a class. I was like, if I missed a class, I was like, oh my God, what did I miss? And he'd do a seminar a month or 2 seminars a month. I mean, I was at every one. I was traveling around Florida, all over. I was then meeting people all over Florida who had been training for a while. And I just couldn't get enough of this art. And, I just wanted to meet as many people as I could that were studying this art. And I traveled all around. I traveled to Atlanta to meet Bub Malmstrom, to see him in his dojo. I traveled all around Florida to meet the people that were training in the Bujinkan around Florida and just see what they're doing and how they were training. Later came to be my demise in that dojo, though. But that's a story for another time.
For another chapter.
For another chapter. But anyways, yeah, that's how I came to know the Bujinkan and the fire of the Bujinkan.
I can see the fire right now. You got kind of pumped up while you were just talking about it.
Well, I still am. I still am fired up about the Bujinkan. I've never lost that passion. And then it was when I finally met Hatsumi Sensei, it was the same way. But I'll talk about that. Maybe the continuation of this. Maybe this will have to be a series. That'll be just way too long.
I mean, I'm here for that series.
So yeah, I've never lost it. And nowadays, there's much more information out there. Back in the day, you showed a Multiaku or a towel or a chain weapon, and the whole world was like, oh my God, what the hell is even this? But now, we've got all kinds of, great people out there studying different arts from all over the world. I've even seen some, I shouldn't say even, but there's some really good Sistema guys out there that I've seen. And I'm like, that's what we do. You know what I mean? So I mean, there's a lot of crossover probably. And I mean, I saw what this guy was doing. I'm like, man, that's awesome. He was doing a scenario at a desk and stuff. I thought that's reminds me of Sensei. It's the stuff that we would do. We would come up with. I mean, that's why I like the Bujinkan, is because there's no bounds to it. There's no limits to it. And you can fight and you can survive. And I don't want to just say we can fight and survive, because that's not really what it's all about, really. But you let natural intelligence dominate, with some training. Then you start to let your natural intelligence to come to the forefront, and it even teaches you. And that's what I love about the Bujinkan. That's why I'm still fired up about it. But I love it. I love all martial arts. I love everybody who's doing martial arts. I love the MMA guys. I love the patchouli wearing friendship bracelet, Aikido guys. I love MMA, Muay Thai. I love all you guys. What you're doing is fantastic. I love it. And I steal stuff from you guys all the time, and I hope you steal stuff from me. I mean, that's how we all get better. And I'm sure you do. And that's what Hatsumi Sensei did. So what do you think, Michael? Shall we leave it here?
It's a good spot to stop, but I really do hope we turn this into a regular thing, because there's a lot more story that we all want to hear.
Well, I definitely want to, talk about when I first got to Japan and how I met Sensei and all these things. So we'll leave that for another day.
Sounds good to me, man.